Hello everyone, welcome to Tahar Talks. This is your host Prasha,
And this is Reena.
and we are here to talk about such an interesting topic today. I'm going to start this episode by asking you, Reena, a question. Do you know about the band Queen?
Obviously.
Thank you. Queen is the iconic British rock band which requires absolutely no introduction. Formed in 1970 in London, the band's lineup is very interesting and so star-studded. Originally consisting of Freddie Mercury, the lead vocals and piano, Brian May, guitar and vocals, Roger Taylor, drums and vocals, and John Deacon, bass, joined shortly after in 1971, completing their classic lineup. These are the reasons why Queen is regarded to be such an iconic band, because their songs such as Mother's Love, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Don't Stop Me Now actually have such a good impact on their audience.
So, what is today's episode about? Obviously, it can't be about queens.
It is not about Queen, as much as I would love to rant on about how much I love that band.
No one wants you to.
Exactly, no one wants me to, because let's face it, my infatuation with that band is not relevant to modern day politics. This episode is about Farrokh Bulsara. Do you know who that is?
AKA Freddie Mercury.
AKA Freddie Mercury. The amazing lead singer of Queen is Farrokh Bulsara.
So, he was born on September 5th, 1946, in Zanzibar, which is now part of Tanzania. So, Freddie grew up in a family of Indian descent and spent part of his childhood in India.
Exactly. How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that just like Reena, Freddie Mercury also grew up in Maharashtra, in Nasik for that matter?
Whoa.
Exactly. So it is in his boarding school in India where he developed a passion for music and began taking piano lessons.
Imagine Caesar was there with him.
Imagine if Siju saw the teacher in charge of our podcast is there with him. But Freddie Mercury's life is not all about just music and just playing in Nasik boarding schools. After his family had to flee Zanzibar during a revolution in 1964, they settled in London. There, Mercury attended the Ealing College of Art, where he mingled with aspiring musicians, forming the base for his future career and what we would later come to know as Queen. But that is not where his history lies, does it?
So, the cultural origin and impact. Do you know Jur Bulsara, Freddie's mother, was proudly as an Indian Parsi and spoke Gujarati with the children? Like,
Imagine Freddie Mercury knowing Gujarati. I know both of us can speak in Gujarati, so Freddie Mercury also knowing Gujarati is so fascinating to me.
So, despite his Indian roots, Mercury often downplayed this aspect of his identity in public. Friends and biographers suggest he felt a disconnect with his heritage, possibly due to societal pressures and racial tensions in Britain during 1960s and 70s. Mercury's reluctances to openly embrace his Indian heritage may reflect fears of racial backlash in a period marketed by significant anti-immigrant sentiment. Mercury adopted a stage name to create a persona that resonated with the Western audiences. He often referred to himself as the Persian rather than Indian, which some interpret as an attempt to distance himself from the stigma associated with being Indian in predominantly white music industry.
And now let me ask our audience this question. Take a minute to reflect back on this. How many of you, for at least a major part of your youth, or maybe till like before you turn this episode on, thought of Freddie Mercury as a white British singer?
I felt that.
Exactly. Like up until, a couple of months ago when I actually got into Queen and, started researching about them, I thought Freddie Mercury was a white British singer. And to find out that he spoke in Gujarati with his mother was a cultural shock to me.
Imagine he made a song out of Gujarati.
Yeah, it's gonna give competition to Goti Law. Anyways, despite his reluctance to publicly acknowledge his heritage, many do see Mercury as a symbol of diversity in music. His contributions as a British Asian rock artist are increasingly recognized. Yet, there remains the largely celebrated as white rock star in popular culture. There is an ongoing discussion about why Mercury is not celebrated more as a British Asian author. Many fans and commenters believe that had he embraced his Indian roots more openly, he might have inspired greater recognition for the Parsi community and its contributions to modern India.
So, the media representation. The film Bohemian Rhapsody, very good by the way,
named after his iconic song, which I absolutely love,
glosses over Mercury's Parsi roots and Zoroastrian faith, focusing instead on his music career. These omissions reflect broader trends in media representation when artists of non-Western backgrounds are often simplified or misrepresented.
Like, This is something which, is a very common moral dilemma which all of us face. Can the artist truly ever be separated from the music?
No, never. Once hooked, always hooked.
Exactly. Like, when you listen to a particular song, you're not just listening to a song, you're listening to something created by an individual.
You're listening
Meaning,
to his emotions too.
exactly, meaning that the artist, I believe, is such an important part of the music. And if you want to talk about, many different popular artists around the world, for example, one of my favorite examples for this, Kanye West, or now legally known as Ye. Reenav, do you listen to any Kanye West music?
I don't think so. Can you names a song? I might.
Okay, like Roses, Street Lights.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure a lot of our listeners right now do listen to a lot of Kanye West music. Are they aware of the different political statements made by Kanye West, being anti Semitic, having a different views on Jews, believing Hitler is good? These are clearly not mainstream or accepted political ideologies. So, when we listen to Kanye West's music, are we going to listen to his music for the sake of the music being good? And are we going to completely ignore the political statements being made by him? Or is boycotting his music justified due to the kind of things he represents?
Did you know Freddie Mercury was bisexual?
Exactly what I was coming to. Freddie Mercury, the Indian Parsi singer who spent his entire life trying to play himself off as a white British person, was also bisexual.
So Mercury had a long-term relationship with Mary Austin, whom he referred to as his common-law wife. They lived life for several years, and Mercury famously stated that she would always be his best friend. Later in life, he had a romantic relationship with Jim Houghton, a local barber, which lasted until his death, 1991. These relationships illustrate Mercury's fluid approach to love and companionship.
And I would also like to, spend this minute over here to reflect on the fact that we are not talking about the 2020s over here. We're not even talking about the 2010s over here. We are talking
was
about
the time that bisexual was actually pushed away from.
Exactly, it was still being stigmatized against. We are talking about a time period from the 1970s to the 1990s. Being gay or being a part of the LGBTQ plus IA community was not accepted as of now. Meaning that for him to be bisexual and very openly also have a relationship with men will forever be something so controversial and significant for that time period.
So, despite his bisexuality, Mercury was known for his maintaining a degree of privacy regarding his personal life. He often shied away from public discussing about his sexuality, especially during the height of the Queen's fame in the 1970s and 1980s. This reluctance can also be attributed to the societal norms of the time, which were less accepting of non-heteronormative identities.
But now let's move on to the more dark side of Freddie Mercury's life. Rina, do you know how did Freddie Mercury end up passing away?
No.
So Freddie Mercury passed away relatively very young. He passed away at the age of 45.
Which was on 29 November.
Which was on 29th November and the day this episode comes out. Circles of life, it links back. But let me tell you, in 1987, Mercury was diagnosed with what back then was known as the gay people's disease, HIV and AIDS.
AIDS, okay.
Exactly. So for those of you who have researched about, the different political tensions of having HIV and AIDS back in the 20th century, let me tell you, HIV was treated as untouchability. Because of the common misconception of the way HIV was transferred, people believe that by simply touching someone who has HIV, they could contract HIV themselves without understanding that, without having open wounds or without having a proper bodily contact share, HIV could not in any way be transferred. Reenav, do you know about the very, very important moment in our history when Princess Diana, the former Princess Diana, shook hands with an HIV patient?
No.
Princess Diana shaking hands with an HIV patient marked such an important moment in our history because it let thousands and millions of her followers around the world know that it was safe to do so. And by that simple handshake by Princess Diana, HIV patients have since then, been able to gain so much of the social dignity which they lost. Now, going back to Freddie Mercury being bisexual and being diagnosed with HIV and AIDS, he did continue to work on his music despite his declining health. With his last studio album with Queen, Innuendo, being released in January 1991.
So, just one day before his death, Mercury publicly announced his diagnosis, stating, "I wish to confirm that I have been tested HIV positive and have AIDS."
And why? What was the reason for him being able to announce something like this so long after, his diagnosis and so close to him passing away? A simple reason for this was because of the way HIV at that time and being bisexual at that time was received by a mass audience. So the reception of Mercury's bisexuality was very mixed. While some fans embraced him as a queer icon, mainstream media often focused more on his talent than his sexual identity. This ambivalence reflects a broader societal attitudes towards LGBTQ plus individuals during the late 20th century. His ability to express vulnerability and flamboyance helped pave the way for future generations of LGBTQ plus artists. He became an icon not just for his music, but also for his unapologetic self-expression.
In addition to this, following his death, there was also a surge in activism and awareness surrounding HIV or AIDS. The Freddie Mercury tribute concert for AIDS awareness held in 1992 featured numerous celebrities and raised significant funds for research and support organizations. This event helped both destigmatize the disease and highlighted the need for continued education and compassion. His legacy continues to influence discussions around HIV and AIDS and LGBTQ rights today, reminding us for the importance of compassion and understanding in addressing health crises.
Honestly, when I think of Freddie Mercury, when I think of the Queen, and when I think about his life, all I can think of is what a man and what a life. Just to, arrange this in the most systematic flowchart order, he was born in Zanzibar. He had to live in India and go to a boarding school in Nasik, Maharashtra.
He spoke Gujarati.
He spoke Gujarati. And then, after all of this, his family was forced to flee Zanzibar because of a civil war taking place there. When he comes to London, he is a brown immigrant who speaks in Gujarati and probably did not have the best English.
To fit into societal norms,
Exactly.
he made himself into a white man.
And if you research more on Freddie Mercury's early life, you will find out that, when he went to boarding school in Nasik, he was so insecure of his smile and his teeth. Freddie Mercury's iconic teeth and smile, which later came to be such an important part of the Queen, was something he grew up being insecure about. And this really makes us think, how was Freddie Mercury's personal life? What actually went on in his head for being bisexual, being a brown Indian Parsi, and also being the most important icon in British rock?
Freddie Mercury's story is vital for understanding the evolution of modern music, the importance of representation in the arts, and the ongoing dialogue about health and identity. His life exemplifies resilience, creativity, and the power of music to bring people together across diverse backgrounds.
So, this was Freddie Mercury's life on Tahar Talks, covering everything from him being a brown Indian Parsi to being bisexual and finally passing away with HIV and AIDS. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and we hope we induced thought today.